This website is operated by Sasoy, LLC, which is not affiliated in any way with Central Park in New York City, or the City of New York, or the Central Park Conservancy.
Welcome, folks, to the Central Park LongBoarder. We're going to kick the apple today. Hey, folks, and welcome to the Central Park LongBoarder video tutorial. Today we're going to go over some dry land videos and show you how to switch kick by how slow can you go drills. But before we get into that, we're going to break down switch kicking. So you'd like to be switch kicking like this: heel to toe, even cadence on both sides with a good setup on each foot placement, and getting down the road and getting where you need to go, or having a nice workout. That's what you'd like to do. But of course, switch kicking is intimately related to scootering. So the scooter kick and the skateboard kick is exactly the same, folks. But when you're on a scooter, as you can see, your neurological balancing does not need to be at that high a level. And of course, if you're scootering or skateboarding, you're actually skating. You're skating on one leg at a time, and you're transferring weight from one leg to the other, over and over in between with your hips. But you're not doing it as often as an inline skater. But the principles are very similar. The inline skater has a skate on each foot, and they go over one at a time. So let's go over these motions in slow motion and begin to realize what all three of these skating modalities have in common. And that is that you are balancing over a center line. And that's what's most important to understand. So if you are not dropping the shoulder on the opposite side of the kick leg, as you can see here, that right shoulder on the athlete is dropping to its side and the head is dropping over. And now you'll notice that the nose is over the knee and the knee is over the toes. There's that center line right there. So you need to balance over the center line. And of course, the first thing you need to do is make sure that your foot is connected in a proper way so that it can support everything. When you are kicking a skateboard, you are in effect creating a situation where your leg from the foot all the way up to the hip becomes part of the support machine. So if you don't set up that foot properly with your ball and your heel, you have to take the time. There's the time, setting it up, feeling it out. Okay, it's good. Get on it. And let's drop our shoulder and balance over that center line. That is what it means to switch kick. That's what it means to kick a board and glide, is to skate. So now we're going to get into seeing how this happens slow motion on the scooter. Again, there we see the shoulders dropped and the nose is over the knee and the knee is over the toes. And that is skating, folks, with the assist of a big fat bar that comes straight up out of the front wheel and allows you to register your upper body and not have to exert that much neurological control. Because when you first begin, nobody is born with the neurological control to balance on a dominant leg and a non-dominant leg. You might be able to do it rather quickly on a dominant leg on a skateboard, but you will more than likely have a greater degree of challenge to do it on your non-dominant leg. So we have a non-dominant leg, we have a dominant leg, and we need to begin to develop the non-dominant balance as well as the non-dominant muscle memory and strength development. And the scooter is the ultimate way to do this, because you can first develop hips down and then slowly you can develop hips up. And that's what this video is going to be all about. So we're going to get back to that longboarding athlete, longboard, skateboard. It's long because it's easier to switch kick with, but fundamentally it is a skateboard. Now let's take a look at skating, right? So skating is skating. We all know it, but we never really think much about inline skating being equivalent to kicking a board, but it is. But instead of kicking and thrusting forward propulsion with the same leg repeatedly, we're just alternating from one side to the next, and we're bringing our toes under our knees and our knees right under our nose to make that center line glide. Skating means gliding, a momentary glide where we thrust all of our human propulsion into it and go forward. That is what skating is. If you're skating on skates and you're not landing on your outside edge and rolling over to your inside edge, you're actually not skating very well at all. You're skating very ineffectively. You need to drop on that outside edge, then come into the inside edge and roll over. And at the moment that you're rolling over is the moment that your nose will be over your knee and your knee will be over your toes. And also your shoulders will be dropping left and right, left and right. And of course, that's the same exact thing that's happening on a skateboard, only depending on your cadence count, it's going to be constant until you switch. So now let's get back to once that you've gone through the scooter and once you've gone through the development of switching both legs and developing some muscle memory, you're going to come to the board. So here we are just standing on the top side of the board, and we're just going to demonstrate a few things that you ought to be able to do. You ought to be able, there's the center line, you ought to be able to drop that shoulder and balance the weight. So the arm weight and the leg weight are balanced over the center line. When you're a beginner, you're going to drop your foot sideways, and if you're more advanced, you're going to be able to heel to toe. But again, on both sides, you want to be able to balance over the center line. So if you don't balance over that center line, your feet are going to want to pull back in and tuck in. And so the more your feet want to return to the board, the more you need to drop that shoulder to balance over that center line. Dropping the shoulders is what you need to do, and that front foot comes up, over, and down, and we're over accentuating it so you can see that. And as you can see, until you get a little bit of a warm-up, you might not be able to balance exactly right. So we're going to keep doing this. We're getting our warm-up, and we're dropping that shoulder. You drop that shoulder, that front foot comes up, over, and down. And as you can see, in switch kicking, the front foot, the front leg activates very differently than the rear. So the rear just flops straight back in. We're going to watch it flop straight back in. The other one comes up, out, and over. When it comes back, it comes up, over, and down. And there we are seeing the switch carve. You basically pull the foot straight back, pull the other one up forward, and plop it down. And this is just a simple exercise that you can do anywhere. We just did it right here in the middle of the slow lane before we're going to get out. So we're going to flip that board, and then we're going to begin to show you how to walk, kick. So you're going to walk more than you kick, and slowly you're going to work it into a glide, and from there you're going to work it into a kick and glide. And we're also showing how that rear foot comes back. If you're a beginner, you can plop it in at 45 degrees. It's not a problem. And if you're expert, you can drop it in heel to toe. But your lower back muscles are going to have to begin to stretch and be able to get accustomed. So if you're doing this, if you're doing that, your legs balancing, if you're trying to balance in this way, it's because you need to drop your shoulder. So don't pull your legs in like that. Drop that shoulder. Drop it and balance the leg over the arm, over on that center line. So you basically want to become like a very even balance with meat on both sides. So now I want to show you that carve switch again. We're going to flip the board, and here we go. So we're going to go, how slow can you go? Folks, you cannot speed skate unless you actually slow skate. You're going to need to be able to do everything exceedingly well slowly and then begin to accelerate it. So if you're falling down while you're practicing switch kicking, you're doing something wrong, and that would principally be pilot error. So folks, you should never be falling down when you're switch kicking. And when you first begin, you need elbow pads, knee pads, wrist guards, and a helmet. So stay safe and wear all the gear that you think you might need. The wrist guards and the helmet never come off, guys. So as we can see here, what we're doing is we're accentuating the dropping of the shoulder and we're just trying to push and glide. And then, as the beginner will do, drop the foot in at 45 degrees and then set it up in the rear. Now what you want to do, guys, you want to take your dominant leg and make it go to the front. So kicking from the rear is actually more challenging than kicking from the front. And so it's a little bit counterintuitive. You want to take your non-dominant leg and put it in the front because it's easier to kick from the front. That's how you want to begin. But ultimately, you're going to kick all four positions. And that's why we call it dominant, non-dominant, front, and back. Because there's not going to be any other names for it, because you're going to kick all four positions. What you want to do is drop that shoulder and look for the glide. And if you're a beginner, your quadriceps are going to begin to warm up. Everything's going to begin to warm up. We're going to do about half of this straightaway at this speed, and then we're going to slowly begin to pick it up. And then there's a little bit of a downhill at the end of the straightaway, so we're going to show you how to glide on one leg. So as you can see, up, over, down, over accentuated that just a little bit, and see how that shoulder's just dropped. We're trying to get that knee, and see right now that's where we're pushing wood. If you're actually just leaning over towards the push leg, you're not really gliding. Right there you can see that the nose is over the knee is over the front foot. So you want to keep doing this at whatever speed you feel comfortable, and you might need to walk more than you skate, and that's okay, because you might need to just begin to develop the muscle memory and also the strength so that your legs can actually handle this kind of workout. So going slow is harder than it seems, and it develops a fantastic foundation for switch kicking. But what you're really looking for is that glide, You want to just drop that shoulder enough so that you can glide, folks. And also you want to begin to learn how to keep the board in a straight line. Take your time, relax your jaw. If you relax your jaw, then you mumble a little bit. If you mumble just a little bit, the rest of your body will relax. So here we are at the middle of the engineer's gate straight, and we're going to just begin to pick the speed up just a little bit faster. So you might not be able to do this until the third week. You might easily do 3 weeks where you are scootering a heck of a lot more than you are switch kicking on the board. But here you're going to see longer glides and just a little more speed. Also a little more accentuation into the stroke. We're going to lean forward just a little bit. There's the glide. Nose over the knee over the toes. What you want to be able to do is glide. As soon as you can begin to glide on one leg comfortably, you're going to be able to begin to skate. Remember the inline skater? So imagine there's just a skate on one side and a skate on the other. And so you're just weight transferring on your hips while dropping your shoulders and swinging your arms. Skating is skating, folks. The fundamentals of skating are all exactly the same. You must be able to glide momentarily on one leg. The wonderful thing about switch kicking on a board is it involves that little extra navigation skill. You might need some other navigational pilot in the wheelhouse so that everything remains safe. With skates, you don't need that. Your skate is on your foot. You're going to put your foot down. As long as you're dropping it on your outside edge and rolling to your inside, that's all that you need to do. So as you can see here, this skill set is good for everybody, even experts. How slow can you go? You should always do how slow can you go. If you're training for speed and you're a speed skater, you're going to be like any other endurance racing athlete. And that means that on Mondays and Fridays, you're always going to go easy. So how slow can you go drills is great for everybody, and you should always practice them. So don't think if you're a beginner, oh, I'm relegated to doing something that even the world's fastest don't do it anymore. Everyone does how slow can you go drills, and also of course you'll need to probably go slow at many times during commuting, because when you commute, you actually need to end up probably going on sidewalks 1 or 2 times. So this kind of going super slow also helps when you're commuting and you need to keep your speed at walking speed. And it's really annoying to have to axle your board, pick your board up by your axle and drag it behind you. You never want to have to do that when you're on a board. You always want to just imagine that you're never ever going to touch it with your hands, and you're only going to manipulate it with your feet. So here's that little downhill I was telling you about. And once you get these little downhills, you need a little more advanced skill for them, but as you can see, you can just practice your gliding on them. You don't have to practice your kicking any longer. And if you like, you can actually just kick straight into the air and then bring your foot back. And right there you saw how that foot is coming on and off, and that's an expert return there, or is heel to toe. So what you want to be able to do is glide and drop heel to toe, and there we're just showing coming in and dropping down, coming in and dropping down, and then straightening it out. You get your setup. Every single time your foot needs to be set up, guys. And there is the beginner return when it comes in sideways, and that's a return to a carve. You always want to be able to get into a carve position as quickly as possible because that's your steering position, and you always want to be able to get that front foot set up so that you can get up on it and do a cadence break. And we can show you cadence breaking in other videos. Right here we're just showing you how slow can you go, gliding, and the principles of skating. Here we're getting into a little faster situation, and again you want to drop that shoulder and glide over the center line, and your foot will probably return at 45 degrees. So folks, we hope you've enjoyed this video, and please go over it many times and skate hard, skate often, and switch kick.
Visit us at centralparklongboarder.com for lessons and board sales. Learn to switch kick. It's the only thing we teach.